This essay example, as well as thousands of others, is available in text format on our website for free and without registration. Simply Google Ivy Panda Free Essays.
Barbara Ehrenreich's text Serving in Florida can be described as effective in terms of defining the main problems of the American poor through the prism of the author's personal experience. The whole text reveals Ehrenreich's essential and difficult experiences aimed at understanding and feeling life in almost inhumane conditions, such as low wages and great moral and physical pressure. Barbara serves different professions in Florida, including waitress, hotel worker, etc., where she communicates with people and finds out their main problems and anticipations. Most of Barbara's co-workers work 2 jobs and live in rented houses or even in cars. While working for almost a full week, these people cannot afford to acquire housing at appropriate prices and often have other life problems. This experience leads Barbara to the correct conclusion that minimum wage cannot guarantee livable conditions and that primary resources should be invested in education, which ensures future success. Barbara comes across humiliation in the employment process when she is demanded to answer doubtful questions and pass unnecessary tests. Her human dignity is nothing compared to the employer's desire for profits. Serving as a waitress in Hearthside restaurant, Barbara finds out that people living in poor conditions can be even more generous and friendly than rich ones. Gail, a waitress who trains Ehrenreich, is a very responsible and caring person. Even though she is homeless and has to sleep in the truck without her boyfriend, who was killed recently in prison, she still maintains normal human relations with other people and helps those who are in need. Joan is another object of Barbara's admiration. Joan raises children in the mobile house by herself and shows great generosity. For instance, she and other waitresses add extra portions of croutons and salads. However, management allows only 6. Concerted efforts form a generous attitude towards all the customers, and Barbara quickly takes the same stance. Barbara also gets the hostile experience of low-wage work when she does not defend her Czechoslovakian co-worker, who was accused of stealing something. However, he did not do this. Barbara has considerable difficulties formulating this phenomenon of hidden indecision. However, soon reveals that it is connected with the problematic and tense psychological climate in low-wage collectives and oppression of the management. The main appeal Ehrenreich's text contains is that low-wage work, which is so widespread in the modern United States, has a negative consequence on many people who lose their perspective and, more importantly, a feeling of individual dignity, which is the primary precondition for democratic participation. Barbara's conclusion may be summarized as follows: without appropriate wages and working conditions, the majority of American citizens cannot guarantee their constitutional rights for everyday living, not to mention the deep spiritual needs of every human being. Ehrenreich's audience may include different categories of people, ranging from policymakers, who can influence the distribution of power and resources in American society, to ordinary poor, who have strong potential to improve their lives. It should be noted, however, that Ehrenreich tries to show that American society can properly address the situation of poor workers. But often unintentionally, Ehrenreich appeals to more radical actions, and this can be easily read over such passages as, "I could drift on like this," and some dreamy proletarian idyll, or not that managers, and especially assistant managers in low-wage settings like this, are exactly the class enemy. From these passages, it is evident that Ehrenreich addresses her conclusions and personal experience to ordinary American poor, who may unite their efforts to fight for their civil and constitutional rights in everyday life. It should be noted that Ehrenreich's appeal is set up coherently and has strong emotional components. There is no denying the importance of the fact that the author is focused on forming a positive image of low-wage workers in her readers, which is achieved by depicting different practical situations that reveal the positive attitudes and features of the character. Ehrenreich also pays specific attention to forming a comprehensive picture of these poor people's living conditions, which serves as a basic logical argument for changing them for the better. Nothing can be more than speaking of their sufferings as describing poor people's daily routine at work and home. Jones and Gale's problems, which are carefully described by Ehrenreich, help us understand their overall working conditions and show possible contours of change. The author's appeals are very effective in terms of creating a comprehensive picture of low-wage workers' conditions and the possible ways of changing them for the better. Ehrenreich's important contribution to these debates is based on helpful personal experience that was gained during her low-wage employment. To sum it up, we have analyzed the basic appeals of Ehrenreich's text, focused on their importance, emotional ramifications, logical content, and intended or unintended audience. We concluded that notwithstanding some minor incoherence, Ehrenreich's text contains quite valuable personal experience and facts, which can be used by activists making efforts at improving the lives of the American poor. This, however, can happen only in the case of a deep understanding of the deep roots of poverty and its consequences. If you want to find more works like this report on Serving in Florida by Barbara Ehrenreich, head over to ivypanda.com. It has a collection of free samples with thousands of submissions covering virtually all academic subjects. No registration required to access it.